The raw, guttural scream was silenced only by the helmet hitting the turf. But the real story wasn't the pain Carson Wentz showed. It was the physical anguish he was deliberately allowed to endure. A heartbreaking sacrifice paving the way for a future the Vikings are desperate to resurrect. That brutal 37-10 loss against the Los Angeles Chargers wasn't merely a defeat. It was a ritual purging, a necessary, agonizing demolition job designed to clear the path for J.J. McCarthy. Welcome to Touchdown News, where we don't just analyze the scoreboards, we dissect the necessary, sometimes cruel, sacrifices made on the gridiron. The sight of Carson Wentz throwing his helmet after that fourth-quarter hit, masking his face with a towel, was the image of absolute physical surrender. He was battered, he was bruised, and critically, he was physically compromised, battling what he himself described as perhaps the most intense pain he'd ever felt in a football game, and that's saying something for a veteran. He was held together by medical tape and a customized shoulder harness that he admitted he'd never worn anything near like it for a game. We are talking about a quarterback performing with a destabilized left shoulder, affecting his ability to brace, transfer weight, and withstand the inevitable hits. When a quarterback completes 15 of 27 passes for a meager 144 yards, logging 5 sacks and 8 hits, the immediate reaction from the casual observer is to condemn the performance. But Dr. Elena Reyes, a renowned sports injury analyst, put it sharply. For him to complete 55% of his passes with the level of AC joint instability he was clearly exhibiting, that's not just grit. It's borderline self-harm. Our preliminary estimates suggest his throwing motion torque dropped by nearly 30% after the first quarter alone, making even simple checkdowns excruciating. The Vikings knew this. Kevin O'Connell knew this. So why leave him out there? This is where the narrative shifts from injury management to franchise prophecy. McCarthy is the project, the hope, the untouchable future. O'Connell's post-game declaration was not a suggestion, it was a covenant. If JJ is healthy, JJ plays. He confirmed that this has been the internal mandate since McCarthy's right ankle sprain 6 weeks ago, sustained after the Week 2 loss to Atlanta. A 6-week timetable the young QB was scheduled to meet exactly now. This isn't just coaching commitment. This is job preservation for KOC himself, tethering his future to the rookie passer who showed flashes of brilliance, including a pristine 98.4 QB rating in the red zone during his 2 starts, a statistically significant metric despite the limited snap count. Former NFL general manager Rex Dalton believes O'Connell is playing a high-stakes psychological game. Kevin O'Connell isn't just saying that for the press. He's drawing a line in the sand. Wentz's job was to keep the seat warm, and when the seat spontaneously combusted on Thursday night, it signaled the end of the transition period. They tested McCarthy on Tuesday. He wasn't ready then, but giving him the mini-bye weekend and the extended preparation into Monday, followed by a full week of practice, creates the perfect narrative arc for his Week 9 return against Detroit. The most controversial decision of the night, and the true climax of the sacrifice, was O'Connell's refusal to pull Wentz even after the veteran was visibly shaking off pain and tossing his helmet in frustration. Many critics called O'Connell reckless, prioritizing the game's flow over player safety, especially when the game was well out of reach. But they completely missed the subtle, more brutal strategic reality: protecting Max Brosmer. With McCarthy designated as the official backup, the next man up was Brosmer, the undrafted rookie who hadn't taken a single competitive snap all year. You don't put a raw prospect like Brosmer behind a collapsing offensive line, one that allowed those 5 sacks and 8 hits, only to let him get pulverized in a meaningless final 2 minutes.
Wentz, the battered, experienced veteran, absorbed the absolute physical punishment necessary to ensure that the Vikings' other emergency asset remained insulated and unharmed. Wentz's painful final minutes were not a measure of his failure. They were a measure of his organizational utility. He was the shield, absorbing the final blows of a brutal loss so that both Brosmer and, by extension, the franchise's long-term investment in McCarthy remained whole.
The stage is set for the November 2nd clash with the Detroit Lions. The long recovery period for McCarthy's sprained ankle, which required significant recuperation time, will be truly tested against a Lions defense that averages 4.5 sacks per game and is known for its interior pressure. The Vikings have paid the physical price with Wentz. Now they must ascertain if that price bought them a healthy, ready franchise quarterback. If O'Connell's unwavering faith is misplaced, if McCarthy is still favoring that right ankle, then Wentz's sacrifice was in vain, and the Vikings have gambled their season on an incomplete rehabilitation. But if McCarthy steps onto the field fully prepared, with a full week of clean reps, validated by the medical staff, then the agony we witnessed on Thursday night becomes the defining origin story of his career, purchased at the agonizing expense of the man who literally gave his shoulder for the cause. The stage is set for a dramatic return, but the cost has been steep. Will J.J. McCarthy justify the sacrifices made by Carson Wentz? Let us know in the comments. Do the Vikings successfully beat the Lions in Week 9? Or is this rush back going to shatter the McCarthy dream? Like this video, share your thoughts, and subscribe to Touchdown News for more deep dives into the game's brutal realities.